This video is in no way, shape, or form brought to you by Pepsi. Pepsi, drink it, dude. Alright guys, let's get into this. Pretty impressive, right? Non-dominant hand, one finger. Set the mood. Okay, so reviewing a new Star Wars movie or Star Wars story movie. We are reviewing Solo, and I just got out of the theaters of it not too long ago, and I'm here to give you, I guess, my initial thoughts, review, and we'll get into spoilers in just a second. So I thought it was good. I don't think it was great, but it was good. It was passable in every way. How does it stack up to the others? It doesn't. It doesn't stack up to any of the Star Wars that have an episode whatever in it. And in my opinion, it doesn't even stack up to Rogue One. But if you take it for what it is, it's enjoyable nonetheless. Other things I can say before I get into spoilers. Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian, he did an excellent job. He did a good job of kind of employing Billy D. Williams' mannerisms, his accent a little bit, you know, things like saying Han instead of Han. Just his smooth, silky storytelling methods, he was very on point in all that. The actor, and I don't know his name, I'm sorry, who played Han, he did alright. He didn't do as good as Harrison Ford, but you can't expect him to. I don't know, that's just one of my downers of a movie, really, is you can't really put anyone, no matter who they are, in the role of Han Solo and expect them to, you know, do great, because Harrison Ford has established that character so much over the past decades. Most of the new characters were fine. I enjoyed Woody Harrelson's character. I enjoyed the main villain. His name was Dryden Voss. He was played by what's that guy's name? He's the same actor who plays Vision in all the Marvel movies. Paul Bentley, is that right? Maybe. Other characters, Kira, she's hit or miss. She's Han Solo's girlfriend, love interest during this movie. Yeah, hit or miss. Lando Calrissian's droid. That's the only new character I really didn't enjoy, and I'll get into that in a minute. So, yeah, overall I'm just going to say it's a decent movie, it's worth watching, but it doesn't stack up to the other Star Wars. What's up, Cat? And it doesn't stack up to Rogue One. But if you take it as it is, it's an alright movie. For what it is, as a movie, 7 out of 10. If you're holding it against the standards of all the other Star Wars, it drops like a lot. It's like 3 out of 10, assuming Empire is 10 out of 10, or maybe even Revenge of the Sith is 10 out of 10. Alright, let's get into this plot. So from here on out, spoilers. 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 Alright, so the plot basically starts, you have Han Solo and his little girlfriend Kira on Corellia, and they are running small time scams to get enough credits to get off the planet, because it's a pretty rough place, just because of the Imperial occupation. They're making ships there, is what I got out of it. They get really close to leaving the planet. They have all they need to basically bribe their way off the planet, transportation-wise. But Han and Kira get split up, and Han basically gets past the checkpoint he needs to be to get off the planet, whereas Kira does not. I don't know exactly what Han's plan was to get off, but basically the plan he goes with to get off Corellia is he wants to join the Imperial Navy and be a pilot, and that's his ticket out. So, hold on, Cat is misbehaving. that's his plan, and he joins the Imperial Navy. And then they do this thing which I thought was really stupid. I didn't like it at all. Han doesn't have a last name at this point, so the Imperial recruiter or whatever says, basically looks at him and is like, oh, well, you're alone, so Solo, that's your last name. And I don't know, I don't buy that at all. I don't like it, but it is what it is. So anyway, then it goes into a time jump. So it does a time jump, kind of like what we just did, because our phone decided to be stupid. Anyway, so time jump. Han is not a pilot in the Imperial Navy. He's a grunt in the Imperial Army, and he's doing dirty ground fighting work. He's not a stormtrooper because he's not wearing the stormtrooper armor, so I assume he's just some lower level ranking, just piece of crap I don't want to say piece of crap soldier, but someone who does the dirty work. And in this battle, Han Solo comes across Woody Harrelson's character, whose name is Tobias, and he kind of takes a few looks at him. He realizes this guy's not Empire. He's someone else. He's up to something. He infiltrated us. So he confronts him. He's like, whatever you're doing, I want in, and I'm qualified to do this because I'm a pilot, ran scams before, take me on your crew, whatever. And basically Woody Harrelson's response is nope, and he turns him into Imperial guards saying, hey, this guy's trying to be a deserter, so lock him up or do something with him. So then the Imperial authorities take Han and they throw him into a pit with the Beast. And I'm like, oh my god, is this a Rancor, or is they feeding him to a Rancor right now? Well, no, it's not a Rancor. The Beast is Chewbacca, and it becomes clear at this point they have a fight, and Chewie's just tearing Han apart. Like, it's brutal. Han uses some of his Wookiee dialect language skills to basically convince Chewbacca, hey, we're going to get out of here. So they forge a plan, they get out, and then they run back into Tobias and his crew. Tobias is impressed by this. He's like, alright, let's have him along and have him on a mission. So they go on this mission. It's the train heist that you've probably seen in trailers, and it's a complete disaster, absolute shit show. Yeah, everyone in Tobias's gang except for him, done, out, they died in this train heist, and they didn't get what they needed, which was this fuel. I don't remember the name per se, Colex or something like that, Colex fuel. Anyway, they failed to acquire it, and Woody Harrelson basically comes to Han Solo. He's like, we're in deep trouble now. That was a lot of credits we just lost, and they're going to kill me if I don't deliver on this. So they confront Dryden Voss, who's the crime lord. He's the guy they owe this money to, who they promised the fuel to. Dryden Voss is like, give me a reason why I shouldn't kill you right now. Han steps in and proposes his plan of, we can get you unrefined fuel, and we'll get it from Kessel system and bring it to you as a payment for what we failed to acquire in this heist. And he agrees, and you kind of get informed that Dryden Voss and Kira, Han's old girlfriend, are now in league with each other. So because Kira and Han know each other, Dryden sends Kira off with Han, Chewie, and Tobias to go get this fuel. At this point, they're like, okay, but if we're going to get unrefined fuel from Kessel, we've got to be in a fast ship, because the fuel will destabilize too quickly since it's unrefined, and it'll be a giant nuclear bomb on us, basically. So they come in contact with this charming man named Lando Calrissian. I'm sure you've heard of him. And basically, they have their little sequence of gambling and talking and whatever. Now Lando has agreed to fly them in the Millennium Falcon to Kessel to get the fuel and then go get paid. Lando, of course, wants a cut of the payment, so that's the plan. Lando has his co-pilot droid, who is my least favorite character in a movie, and I'll just
go on a little tangent on that. She's like, it's this droid who is just like a Marxist social justice warrior, revolutionary, pseudo-communist character who I guess they were trying to be funny, but all the humor in her lines just fell flat for me, so she just became annoying. Kind of how many people perceive Jar Jar Binks. Supposed to be funny, but ends up being annoying. So, yeah.
The five of them: Harrelson, Han, Chewie, Kira, Lando, and the droid. Okay, six of them go to Kessel. They use this plan to get the fuel and get out of there. While there, Chewie frees some Wookiee slaves who are being just used to slave labor to mine the fuel on Kessel. L3, the droid, starts like this revolution as a diversion for them to get out of there, but it doesn't really work, and L3 is blown up in the revolution scheme, which I personally didn't really care just because I didn't like her character, but I guess it was a sadder moment of the movie. What was sad to me was seeing Chewbacca depart from the Wookiee tribe of slaves that he just helped out on this planet. They get the fuel and then they have to get out of there. They have to do the Kessel Run, which you've probably remember from A New Hope being mentioned. Only problem is the stir that was created on the planet with a little pseudo-revolution attracted the Imperial attention. So now Han and everyone else is on the Millennium Falcon with the fuel, and the Empire sees them escaping with the fuel, so they try and blow them out of the sky. You know how that works. It becomes this big chase sequence, space fight. Han pilots through the Kessel Run and does so remarkably, and basically they're up against the clock because fuel is unrefined. Therefore, if it doesn't get refined in X amount of time, it's going to blow up on them. So, perfect background music for this, huh? So they do the Kessel Run, and they get the fuel to this refinery. While they're getting the fuel refined so they can get paid by Dryden Voss. Well, in comes the Marauders, as they're called, and what they're described as is just pirates, basically, who they want the fuel too. For whatever reason, the train heist didn't work out, because on the train heist they tried to get fuel, but the Marauders showed up, and then it just caused a big stir, and they didn't get the fuel that time. So now they have the unrefined fuel, it's getting refined, and the Marauders show up again. And instead of battling it out, they kind of talk it through. It's kind of weird how it works out, but basically the Marauders explain, we're not pirates, we're people who have been hurt by Dryden Voss and his gang. His gang's called the Crimson Dawn. I don't know if I mentioned that before. But basically they're like, we're all people who've been hurt by the Crimson Dawn, and we're trying to get this fuel to fight back against other oppressors and help oppressed people. And Han's all for it. He's like, yeah, let's help these guys out. Whereas Woody Harrelson's character, Tobias, is like, no, I'm not gonna help them out. Not gonna happen. Harrelson just kind of leaves, unexplained where he's going, while Han is trying to figure out a plan to help these Marauders out and give them the fuel. Lando straight up just takes off without receiving his payment, without getting any kind of guarantee that he's going to get paid. It's kind of weird and kind of a plot hole. But anyway, Dryden Voss shows up. Han's supposed to deliver the fuel to him and get paid. And instead of delivering the fuel to him, he's worked up this scheme where he's going to like give fake fuel to them, so it seems, so that he can get paid and the Marauders can be helped out. Well, Dryden Voss, the crime lord, sees through this. He's like, you're not fooling me. I know this isn't the real fuel because Tobias told me so. And then there's a double cross there. Tobias is now against Han and Chewie. What works out is Tobias takes the fuel, let me back up a little bit. Dryden Voss is like, we're going to go get the real fuel, since this is obviously fake fuel that you just brought to me. and Tobias's little gang of henchmen confront the Marauders, who are supposed to have a real fuel. Well, it turns out they don't have it. The real fuel is actually with Han. So once Dryden Voss figures this out, he's like, oh, I screwed up because I sent all my fighters out to go fight these Marauders to get the real fuel, but they don't have a real fuel. It's sitting here in front of me, and now Han and Chewie are here with the real fuel, and it's, I guess, just a tense situation. Tobias is the only one with a weapon at this point, so he basically holds everyone at gunpoint. He's like, since this is real fuel, I'm going to take it, go get rich, and leave you here to squabble and fight each other. And that's basically what happens. He turns to Chewbacca, he's like, you're going to help me carry this out of here, and I'm going to go get paid. So he leaves Han, Kira, and Dryden Voss in the room alone, while he goes off with the fuel for himself. Then a fight breaks out, Han versus Dryden, obviously, and Kira's kind of sitting there torn through this fight because on one hand she loves Han, on the other hand she works for Dryden, and it's implied that they have a romance, so she kind of trying to decide what to do the entire fight. Eventually she sides with Han and kills Dryden Voss. It's just Kira and Han. They say, okay, we gotta go help Chewbacca. We gotta go get that fuel and stop Tobias. And that's the plan from here on out, but Kira's like, you go ahead of me. You go get Chewie now and rescue him and confront Tobias. I'll be right behind you, I promise. And they're like, okay. And they split. So Han goes after Tobias and Chewbacca with the fuel. Meanwhile, Kira stays alone with Dryden Voss's dead body. And this is, for me, what was the best part of the movie, is she assumes the role of the leader of the Crimson Dawn and contacts their boss, who turns out to be Darth freaking Maul, which is, it was, I guess, the big cameo of a movie, and I was so happy, smiling ear to ear, seeing Maul on screen again. And basically Maul says, well, now that you're a leader of the Crimson Sun, or Crimson Dawn, come visit me on Dathomir and we'll talk there. And that's what happens. She just straight up leaves. Then Han realizes that Kira's not coming to help him against Tobias. Han catches up with Tobias and Chewbacca, basically just pulls a Greedo on him and shoots first. Shoots Tobias while they're still like having suspenseful talking dialogue moment. Just shoots Tobias down and takes the fuel with Chewbacca back to the Marauders, which I guess was his plan the whole time. Not entirely sure, but the Marauders give him a little payment for giving them the fuel. And this was kind of what was interesting to me, is the Marauders are like, you know the truth, don't you? This isn't going, this fuel isn't going towards fighting against the Crimson Dawn or other crime lord oppressors. This is the start of a rebellion. And I was like, oh, cool. It's nice that they tied that in. She's like, you should join us. You should join the rebels, Han and Chewie. We could use someone like you. And Han's like, no, I don't think so. And the leader of the Marauders is like, you might change your mind later. And he's like, don't hold your breath, which we all know eventually Han joins the rebellion. Last scene, Han confronts Lando again and basically just cheats him in a game of sabacc to win the Falcon, and that's the end of the movie. So yeah, that was my long, very long synopsis of the plot. I did not want it to be that long, but I guess I wanted it to make some kind of sense. I don't know if that made any sense without actually seeing the movie, but there's a few things I'd like to discuss about it. One, the gang of Marauders. It was pretty cool because you get some cameos in there. Sup, cat? You get Warwick Davis, he's one of the Marauders. And another one is, I don't remember his real name, but Two Tubes from Rogue One. He was like Saw Gerrera's right-hand man. He was with him, and for a minute that was kind of weird. I was like, what's he doing with these guys? But then it kind of came together, you know. Saw Gerrera and his extremists used to be in league with the rebels, so yes, Two Tubes is one of the Marauders, and the Marauders are basically the start of a rebellion, so I think it's just cool that they made that Rogue One tie-in there. Before I discuss Darth Maul and his cameo, and I guess what it means, I do want to just quickly talk about things I liked, didn't like, and missed opportunities. Things I liked: Donald Glover, Lando Calrissian. Excellent, absolutely excellent. No complaints there. Things I liked: overall, I liked the Han Solo, the new actor, and his performance. Things I liked: thought the plot was relatively simple, fair to... I mean, it was easy enough to follow along, I guess is what I want to say. It wasn't all over the place, even if my rendition of it was. Obviously loved the Darth Maul cameo. Loved Woody Harrelson's character, Tobias. Talk about things I didn't like. I didn't like how they gave Han Solo the last name Solo. Just, it shook me all the wrong way. Didn't like L3, the droid character. Another thing I didn't like is the, I guess, the technological understanding of fuel in Star Wars. Like, they didn't really go in depth about why this was so important, how it worked the way it worked, or anything. It's not like I wanted to be sat down and lectured about Star Wars technology working, but when you don't know how something works exactly, and it's driving a plot point with how it works, then that's just, I don't know, kind of muddy. I wish there was a side story, like a side plot, where I guess we could have followed the villain a little bit and then have it switch back and forth between the hero's story and the villain's story before they meet at the end. Because just being with Han Solo and the gang the entire film through, it kind of dragged a little bit in that sense. Like, imagine Empire Strikes Back. You flip in between Luke's side of the story and then Han and Leia's side of the story, and back and forth, and then you get a few Empire scenes thrown in there too, to where you never feel bored. But with Solo, on the other hand, you meet Han Solo and you stay with him the entire plot. Missed opportunities. I thought, especially with the whole concept of the underworld and crime in Star Wars and pirates, would have been a perfect cameo for my boy Hondo from Rebels and the Clone Wars. Perfect opportunity to feature him in a live action film. Didn't happen. Very big missed opportunity. I would have loved to have seen it. Boba Fett. Obviously one of Han Solo's main rivals, so it's a missed opportunity not including him in the film. Okay, let's discuss Maul. So when I first found out that Maul was in control of the Crimson Dawn, I was pretty confused. I was like, why of all characters is Maul in charge? But then I remembered this little scene from the Clone Wars where he basically takes over all the crime syndicates. So basically, I understand why he became the leader of the Crimson Dawn, is because in the Clone Wars he had control of all the crime syndicates, so I guess he still has some pull. The next thing I wondered is what happened canonically in Maul's timeline between the last time we see him in the Clone Wars and when he reappears in Rebels, to where he got back to this position of being on top of crime, because in the Clone Wars, the last time we saw him was right here.
Remember, the first and only reality of the Sith. There can only be two, and you are no longer my apprentice. You have been replaced. is no mercy. Do not worry. I'm not going to kill you.
So Maul gets owned by Sidious, and I'm assuming then imprisoned by Sidious. So I'm wondering what happens between then and the time he reappears as Crime Lord of the Crimson Dawn. Interesting thing is I noticed in the cameo, Darth Maul had his cane lightsaber, which was a lightsaber disguised as a cane from when he reappeared to Ezra.
Stay back! I'm warning you, old man. Forgive me, it's just... I've been alone so long. It's been years since I've spoken to anyone.
You live here alone? In the dark?
Not by choice. My ship crashed. I'm trapped, marooned. I've had to scrounge and scrape to survive.
What?
Perhaps my actions will speak louder than words. What are we waiting for?
So he has the cane lightsaber, which he rebuilt from the lightsaber of an Inquisitor he defeated, meaning sometime between the end of Clone Wars and Solo, he has already encountered an Inquisitor. So I'm just wondering how he got from being captured by Sidious to being on top of a Crimson Dawn, and equally interested in how he went from on top of a Crimson Dawn to stranded old man on Mandalore. Now, there are talks that Solo might get a sequel. If you really want to please me, it'll focus strongly on Kira and her newfound alliance with Maul, somehow going after Solo, maybe because he's sorta kinda responsible for the death of Crimson Dawn's former boss. I don't know. I don't even care if you bring back Maul in the rumored Obi-Wan movie, because, you know, he could perfectly fit in there. I don't know, have Obi-Wan have a vision of the Twin Sons episode, only this time it's live action. Or, I don't know. I don't know how you're going to fit him in, but I want more Maul on the big screen. We all love Maul. Anyways, that's my take on Solo. I'm going to do some more movie reviews. Deadpool 2, Venom in October. Super stoked for Venom. I wish I had thought of this back when Infinity War was out, but oh well, it's probably too late for that now. Next time I'll come back in a lot more organized manner, so that instead of watching a 4-hour long video, or however long this ends up being, you watch something concise and more organized. Thanks. Subscribe below, and see you later.